Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Let's continue with my writings from analyzing 59 classic films with the 1920 film Life of the Party. A famous saying says that you should not judge a book by its cover. But the fact is that a lot of people do. A person's appearance can have a similar power. Those who are actually phony or incompetent can command respect and seriousness if they look the part. But be careful when using a facade, because once its shell is broken and the real thing is exposed, it is sometimes beyond repair. In the 1920 silent film Life of the Party, some of the characters are not always who they seem to be. This comedy stars Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle as Algernon Leary, a jovial attorney who takes on the most powerful corporation in town, the Milk Trust. It is hard not to think about what a strange name Algernon is. He only takes the case because he is entranced by one of the women from the Society for Better Babies. Just by the names of these organizations, you can tell that this film does not take itself too seriously. Arbuckle has great presence on film. His facial expressions alone convey what he is feeling and would be saying. Despite obviously being a bit husky, he is a good-looking guy. It is not surprising that other stars of the era, like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, looked up to him. His talents were apparent, and most were on display in scenes in his spacious office, which included a hidden stash of liquor, and him hanging on for dear life out of his window. It was also funny when he hit buttons on his desk which signaled for different employees to come in. But the premise of a milk company being the bad boys in town was silly by itself. He also attacked the milk company in court for charging more for smaller milk containers that were diluted with water. This leads Leary to run for mayor as a pure milk candidate. Despite the goofy plot lines, the story is quite simple. Leary is a goofball who just wants to win the girl, and there just happens to be a lot going on around him. There are more serious themes of scandal and blackmail that are touched on, but the tone remains very easygoing throughout. Most have never heard the phrase four-flusher before, which refers to someone who gloats but really does not have much. The film's title comes from Leary attending a party for adults in which they all dress as babies. Evidently, toga parties had not been discovered yet. Just reading the brief synopsis about a mayoral candidate roaming around town dressed as a baby was enough to draw me to this film. It is safe to say that people were leery of Leary when he was dressed in an infant's garb. I had also heard of Arbuckle but knew nothing about him. This film makes me want to see more of his work, but he would make much less work than he was destined to, as the film's title became ironic. In 1921, Arbuckle had a wild hotel party in San Francisco, after which a woman died. The furor was surrounding his 3 ensuing criminal trials was similar to that of the O.J. Simpson trial in the 1990s. Even though Arbuckle was eventually exonerated on manslaughter charges, his career and reputation were essentially ruined. Not surprisingly, public sentiment was usually much harsher in the 1920s than it is today, due largely to society's moral code being much stricter back then. But nothing can take away from his silly and gentle performance in this film. The piano score that accompanies it is beautiful, relaxing, and is alone worth the price of admission. Even if you do not like silent films, this is a good one to start with, as it is just under an hour long. There also is a good amount of on-screen written dialogue, and the comedy is somewhat subtle and not slapstick. Leary's adversaries underestimated him and were proved wrong. People do not need to dress like babies. But if adults can think how kids think a bit more, perhaps people will be more open and have less preconceived notions. How's that thought to rattle some minds? 2.5 out of 4 stars is what I gave Life of the Party from 1920. Hope you enjoyed hearing about Life of the Party, and we'll continue later on. Until then.